All right, next we're gonna work with our colored pens. So you have to make a decision. You can either just redraw the eyeball real quick. For those of you that don't wanna redraw the eyeball real quick, what you wanna do is put your carbon paper in again, right? Clean sheet of paper, carbon paper, flower side up, and this, and then just take your pen and trace it. I'm not gonna do that, I'm just gonna draw it, but if you want to, I would take a pen with a cap, and that's gonna scrape in. Actually, if you also wanna scrape things out, I just learned that your cap of your pen. You can just use the cap of the pen and like press in, and that'll transfer your drawing. So I guess I just did use the carbon paper. So you can see, now I have an eyeball, woohoo! All right, so what I wanna do first, in my colored pen, right, is I'm gonna wanna do my sphere. And I'm gonna see all the pens that I have. One of the tricky parts with the pens is that the pen set did not come with yellow, all right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is my value sphere, because I like them and they're like saying hello. They're like, oh, I've met you, you're a new material, I wanna get to know you. So it's like saying hello with a new material. So I'm gonna start with blue. So I'm gonna once again start off with pencil. Yep, we'll go here on the page. Do a circle, do my cast shadow. All right, so the big difference between the pen and the oil pastel is I don't have white, right? So white is the white of my page, all right? So with the white of my page, I'm gonna make sure that I leave that section of the sphere as white. I can build into it later. And then when you're using pen, you have to cross hatch. Like the pen is cross hatching. Whenever you're using pen, it's really just about cross hatching, right? And if we remember back from our previous practice with cross hatching, the more the lines are together, the more I'm blocking out the white of the page. So basically you're erasing the white of the page. So it's really easy. One of the tricky things about pen is that you have to leave your white. If any of you happen to have a white gel pen, that is something that will really help if you go too dark. I have a lot of students who get pen and fall in love with the pen, and the white gel pen can become your white, but that's a material you don't have, so I don't know why I'm telling you so much about it. But if you want to get a white gel pen, we might be able to hook you up with one. I don't have any right now, but it's one thing that we have some stuff we can order. So if you notice, I'm kind of going darker. I'm remembering that I have a highlight, I have a light, I have a shadow, right? And then I have a core of shadow, right? Which I'm actually starting to do, core of shadow. Then I have some reflected light, so I want to make sure I leave that open over there. And then I have my cast shadow. And if you notice right now, I'm also using curved lines because it's a curved surface. So the more curved lines I use, the better off I am. So I can do this value sphere using just one pen. I can also decide that I want to use a second pen, right? So I can bring in some purple. The purple helps create that sense of like dark, right? It also gives the sphere a little bit more variety, which gives it a little bit more excitement and more visual interest. If I wanted to, I could also bring in some of the black, but once again, I always have to be careful about the black, right? Because the black flattens what I do. And if I outline it, that 100% makes it no longer 3D. It makes it like super flat. Woo! My purple pen just flew down to the ground. So we're gonna go back in. We'll also have like a lighter blue pen. So with the blue, I can add this in here too, right? So I can start adding some more value and try to get this to feel more round and round and round. All right, so I think we have a decent roundness. So I'm gonna leave that be. And once again, this cast shadow does not have to be blue, right? Because it could be on a totally different tabletop. So I'm gonna start out with some magenta as my cast shadow. And if you notice, I'm changing the direction of the line when I do the cast shadow because the cast shadow, I wanna be on a flat surface. If it was on another round surface, right, like it was a sphere hanging out on a sphere, I would wanna use different direction of line. But I wanna use this direction of line because I want it to feel flat. Line follows form. And it's a really important point to remember that line follows form, because if you remember line follows form, and you actually start using it, your work will become more three-dimensional. If you don't want your work to be more three-dimensional, then use flat lines, but it's about learning control and how to control it. So right now my cast shadow is not feeling very dark, So I can then go in with the blue if I want to and darken it, right? And what I want to do is start erasing that white, right? So I'm going to stop here just because I think that you get the idea. If you don't get the idea, this is why we have class. So you can ask me questions and be like, hey, can you go back to that value sphere you were working on and show me how I can make that cast shadow darker? I can also just go start scribbly, 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 scribbly. Although if I want to start doing scribbly, 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 I might start taking this one, right? And just kind of coloring it in more. But once again, whatever line direction I have will show up in my final, especially if I'm changing colors. So keep that in mind as you go.